All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Fadi, and I'm the community manager at Seeqnce. Thank you for being here. Just a quick word about Seeqnce. It's an accelerator space where we have internet startups residing at Seeqnce and benefiting from the accelerator services and the advisory services that we offer, in addition to being able to collaborate with one another as they prepare, as they go on their way into becoming amazing and take over the world. In addition to that part, we have a community space where we are sitting right now, where we are running during the day. The space is open for people to come in and work, and in the evening it becomes an environment where presentations and workshops can happen. Just check our website in case you want to find out more details about that. Now that this is out of the way, welcome for real now. Thank you for being here in the first Naked Startup session, where startups are being laid bare and where CEOs talk openly and frankly about their stories, their startups, their wins, and most especially about their setbacks and mistakes. Now, everyone thinks that they will not make any mistakes or any major ones. And when they do, nobody is actually willing to admit it to himself. Nobody likes to admit to himself that they make those mistakes. And definitely nobody likes to talk about it or enjoy it. But even though nobody does that, you should be doing that. You should be talking about these things openly, because instead of having them on the inside, becoming bigger than they really are, you talk about them openly. You put them out in the sunlight, you talk about them with people, and then you learn from them and you discard them and you move on. And this is the whole idea. This is the spirit and the concept behind the Naked Startup series. We're very happy to have Mackram Raydan here, who will be the first speaker to talk about his startup and his path, his life in entrepreneurship. His startup is called Cuevox, and it's a really interesting internet startup with a market in a global market, currently focusing on North America. And he will tell you what it does, but Mackram himself is a very, very cool guy. He's a technologist by training. He is a fellow graduate of the American University of Beirut as a computer engineer. Yes, AUB. And he's previously worked at Procter & Gamble, and he is now a freelance consultant, if I'm not mistaken, who mixes his time between that and living the crazy, insane life of being an entrepreneur. So enough with introductions. I present to you the story of Cuevox and Mackram Raydan.
Cool. Hi, everyone. Let me just slightly do that. So, okay. Cool, just so that you know. Okay, so like Fadi put it, I'm here to discuss more about the failures that I've seen. So actually, you won't see any successes. It's all about failures. And Fadi's right. Most people do not talk about failures, but yeah, sure. But most probably, you want me to lower my voice? I know. Okay, so most people do not talk about their failures. But so far, my experience has been those are the best things, right? The more you have failures, the better chances are for you to succeed. So if you've noticed, I call the presentation The Road to Success. And no, still yes. Okay. Okay, seems better now. Okay, cool. So why did I call it The Road to Success even though we're talking about failures? The reason is very simple. First of all, there's no sure way to success. If there was, everyone who already succeeded in building some web application or business, they would have just repeated that, did another one, so on and so forth. We wouldn't have a business to start with. So there is no sure way, no fire way. You don't read a checklist and you come up with, yes, I just made a web application or a business that works. Every mistake you do now, it teaches you something for tomorrow. And you're probably not going to do that mistake again. If you do make that mistake again, then you didn't learn from it. So, learn from those mistakes. And without failure, I put that between quotations because I don't believe there is failure. The only failure really is when you quit and you don't want to quit, right? So you just quit because people tell you or because you feel it's hard and you don't want to put the effort anymore. And that's really the only kind of failure that I can describe as failure. Everything else is just a learning experience. So without failure, success would not taste so sweet, or it would not be worth fighting for, right? So if there were no failures, we wouldn't be doing this, right? So part of the adrenaline rush is the fact that there's a high chance of failing. Who am I? Very quickly, 27-year-old. I have a single-man company, so I don't have any employees. So far, I just worry about my own expenses. And I do build software and do consultancy to actually pay the bills. So Cuevox was my first web application. And what Cuevox does, it's a service that reminds businesses about it reminds the clients of those businesses about the appointments, and then it tells those businesses whether or not the clients are coming. So think of a clinic that has patients that have some appointments, and then someone walks in. So they could take that patient, that walk-in patient, if they know that the guy who has an appointment now is not coming. So rather than actually calling the person or having another assistant doing that, this system will actually call that person, get that info, and then let them know. And accordingly, it solves the no-show problem. Right. So that's simply, what Cuevox is. What am I doing here tonight? Besides laying myself bare, as Fadi put it, I'm presenting lessons that I have learned from the failures that I've, had in Cuevox so far, telling you about those failures. So not just the lessons. I want to tell you about the failures because odds are you might relate them to things that you have experienced or you might experience, and then you might have different lessons. And you're going to probably critique me and tell me, you should have done this, or how did you not see that one, or etc. And discuss your viewpoints about that. So without further ado, let's start the actual lessons. First one is know why you are building. So there are 3 reasons you can build something. You can build it to scratch your own itch. You can build it because you want to make money, or you can build it because you want to build something using whatever, your framework, your technology, etc. That was my first failure. I wanted to write something in my language of choice back then, which is still my language of choice. The people who know me are laughing because that's Lisp. And the reason is I wanted to build that. It did not scratch an itch for me, and I still wanted to make money out of it. Now that is a big failure. Why? Because if you start because you want to build something, you're going to focus on that, right? I'm going to build it. When I build it, people will come. Or, I don't really need to think about the business aspect right now. I just need to figure out the technology part about it. And then I'll think about the business aspect. And that is a sure way to ending up without clients. Because, at the end of the day, it's the clients that come, you have to think about that part, not about building. So do not do this combination. I build it because I want to build something and I want to sell. Either you want to build something, that's fair. You're just doing it because you want to build. If you want to sell, you start with finding out your customers. And if you're scratching your own itch, that's the best part, right? Because you are your first customer. Of course, it made me blind to the business aspect. So that's the part I was trying. So that's the first one. The second one, understanding your customer. This is really, really important. And under this one, I would, make the point of understand your distribution channel. Let me put a small note here. It's a different discussion, but just a small note. If you noticed, a lot of people are selling, Apple, apps on the iPhone or the iPad or Android, etc. And the reason these are making a lot of money is because the distribution channel is well defined. How do you get to the customer? Distribution channel, well defined. This is understand your customer. So let me explain this part, why this is a big failure for Cuevox. When I built Cuevox, my intentional thought pattern was, okay, I'm going to build this web application, and then I'm going to do, some search engine optimization, buy a few ads, and then people will start coming, they will see it, etc. The problem is the customers of Cuevox are those small to medium businesses that are based on appointments. they don't look on the internet for these solutions. They don't even think about it. They have an assistant. Sometimes they have to get another temporary assistant, and that's it. Search engine optimization and ads, mobile ads or internet ads are important only if people are looking on the internet for your problem. So I did not think these through. I did not think about how to reach those customers. These particular customers want to be called on the phone. You need to call them. You need to go and do some demos with them. So you really need to understand your customer. You also really need to understand where you're selling. If you're just selling in a specific country, not globally, then make sure that is a country you know. That is a country you speak its language. Let me give you a simple example. No, I didn't put that here. I did an actual video when I started, right, so to promote Cuevox. And I have a couple of people in the US who are also interested in single founder companies. And the guy watched it and he said, very interesting message, but you're Middle Eastern, aren't you? I was like, yes. Nothing against you, man, but people are going to be, taken aback. Why should I give my money to some guy in the Middle East? Maybe he will steal my credit card. There's a big question mark. So when you want to do all of these things, you need to understand the culture, especially when you're selling something to a specific country. If you're just selling to the US, make sure you get a lady with a US accent to do, your videos, for example. Why? Because there's a certain culture that's accepted. So you don't want to do, different thing unless you're global. When you're global, okay, people might give you a bit of benefit of the doubt. Might being the keyword. We'll get to another problem in a few seconds. Am I going too fast? Or good enough? Cool. This is cool. This is very important. Anyone who checks the internet for, those startups that are coming up or making money, etc., they hear a lot about the word pivoting. You start with one idea, you reach a point, you think, oh, if I change a bit, I can make real money. You pivot, and that's when you start making money. Think Google, they pivoted, right? They were doing search, but they made money out of ads. So you always pivot. Pivoting is really, really important. Only if you do it right, okay? So if you do it wrong, you're just back in the same position that you started with. And I did that horrible, horrible mistake, even though I tried to convince myself I wasn't doing that. So, and actually, to make that point, Samer was one of the people who tried to tell me, make sure you don't make that mistake. You might be ruining yourself. But I wasn't smart enough to listen back then. So in pivoting, when I started Cuevox, I met this guy in the US. And he said he wanted to buy it, right? And I said, not interested in selling the whole platform, but if you'd like, I can let you white label it, which is you can put your own logo, etc., homepage, make your own pricing plans, and we do revenue sharing. So I take a certain percentage of your plans. And he said, fine. And I thought, this solves my problem. I don't have to worry about how to sell to the US market or getting salespeople there. I'll just let this guy do all the work, and I'll worry about the white labeling, setting up the technology, back to just building stuff. Yes, me, right? The problem is, okay, you build it. But that guy, you're not going to stick with one guy because that's not a business, right? He's more like a partner now, but I'm building a business. So if you're going to white label, you want to be able to sell to the potential white labelers. So that's another customer. I did not think, I did not heed the original lesson, know your customer. So how am I going to reach that even smaller set of people who will want to sell to these businesses? So just because I pivoted does not mean I pivoted to the right thing, okay? So if you want to pivot, make sure whatever you're pivoting to, you understand your customers, right? You know how you can sell to them, and then think about how you can build it, okay? So still terrible at sales because I have to sell those guys, right? Okay. Oh, this is a very good one. Open info is open. Deal with it. We all like to think we take the moral high ground all the time, and that, whatever is cool, just realize, put things in context. And that's why I say open info is open. I have a competitor, one of the very few competitors that is attacking, the small market for this. He's called Paul McKinsey. He's one of the most successful single founder guys probably on the planet. He did something called bingo card, right? He makes a lot of money off it. So he started building something like Cuevox called Reminder, right? Appointmentreminder.org. And Paul McKinsey is very well known in the hacker community because he tends to write and blogs a lot about his experience. I mean, he blogs about everything, how he chooses his pricing plan, to how he builds stuff, to who he uses to sell, etc. I mean, I was a guy who led his blog consistently before he started Appointment Reminder. And then I saw that he started Appointment Reminder, and I stopped. Because I felt like if I'm reading from this guy, it feels like cheating, okay? And that's plain wrong, because Paul McKinsey is choosing to make that information open, right? He's not saying, it's not like some hidden web page that I have to do, unscrupulous or illegal stuff to get there. He's putting it on the internet, and he's telling people, come see what I'm doing. And he was explaining a lot of the things that I later discovered, like he's a very good SEO guy. He makes a lot of money from Bingo Card Creator because he's so good at SEO. But when he started Appointment Reminder, he realized people are not, working with SEO or ads. If he wants to sell this, he needs to move to the US. He's living in Japan right now, although he's an American citizen. And then he goes to the US, and the only way he can sell Appointment Reminder is when he goes to the US, visits his parents, and walks into shops or gives people calls. And that guy is just explaining my problem. If I had read it, I would have realized I would need Salesforce, etc. So definitely read everything your competitors put. Don't follow them. If you follow them, you're always going to be just the second guy, the guy who's copying. But at least take the learnings that they're doing, right? So. And remember, whatever they're putting out there, your customers are seeing them, or your potential customers. So at the very least, you need to know what other people are saying. Maybe they're saying bad things about you, which they did, but still. Okay, this is good. Not big yet, so don't copy from them. Okay, I just made it small. Doesn't make a lot of sense, but I needed to keep it short. Let me restate that title. We're not yet big boys, right? As in big companies. So don't copy from the big companies, okay? Don't be very careful when you're using them as inspiring boards. Let me give you an example. 37 Signals, they have a beautiful submission form. You go there, you put in a few things. At the end, you put your credit card, you submit, done. It is a developer's dream because you don't have to worry about, post-processing credit cards after the trial is done, etc. It's just heaven for developers, and it looks beautiful. It's just one page, So I went there, I saw it, and I yes, I'm gonna use this as my template for, Cuevox sign-up page, and it cost me 15 users. Just to put things in context, 15 users would have made Cuevox cash flow positive. Actually, so cash flow positive that I'd be very happy guy, paying all my servers, etc. Wonderful thing. But it cost me. I go to Google Analytics and I see those 15 users who reached my sign-up page, saw the credit card, left, and I'm like, God, how am I going to get these guys back? Because they're not going to click on my ads anymore. And it took me some time to realize what happened. Back when 37 Signals was a startup, this was not their submission page. You could go to a trial, you get the full trial, and then you ask for a credit card. Today, 37 Signals ask for a credit card right now because they have a reputation. Everybody knows who 37 Signals is, right? If you go to their site, CNN is talking about them, Newsweek is talking about them. They have credibility. So if you give them your credit card, they're not going to charge you at the end of the 30 days. But if you come to Cuevox, who's Cuevox? Who's Mackram Raydan to start with? Why am I giving this guy my credit card? Just to see something, and then maybe he's going to charge me after 30 days? What if I forget to cancel? I don't want to be charged. So people have this, they're gonna have that barrier. And you have to realize that you're not yet a big name. People don't know who you are. So you have to think like a startup. So you have to give people all the opportunities. So now, if you go to Cuevox, even though there were like big characters saying it's a free trial, 30 days, we won't charge you, we'll send you emails before we charge you, the whole, right on the page, but people don't care. They saw the credit card and, alarm, this guy, maybe not so good. So be very careful when you try to copy from the big boys, right? A lot of what they have today is based on their reputation, which you don't have, right? So I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. But be cautious. Oh, thank you, man. That's the one I'm looking for. Be cautious. Be very cautious when you're trying to take from the big guys. Okay, this is single founder does not mean alone. Now, not a lot of you may be doing things on their own, a single founder. And even if you're doing it with a couple of people, it's very important to realize that doing things just in a closed environment is very, very bad, right? This is one of the main reasons I like the Seeqnce guys, right? Besides being cool guys. But I really like them because they're trying to make this an ongoing thing in the community, okay? Number one, your ideas, right? They're pretty cool. Any idea you have, they're pretty cool. Odds are if you just tell it to the guy next to you, he's not gonna copy it and go build it, okay? So don't really feel that kind of scare. We have that in Lebanon, that culture. If I'm a guy who can build a company and Fadi comes and tells me his idea, I'm not going to go build his idea. I have my own ideas. I'm going to go build them, right? But I might give him something and he's going to use it. If you're building something in a cocoon, when you're done, it's going to be really, really crappy. I mean, seriously, crappy, right? Samer is laughing, and so is Fadi and Maroon, because I had the privilege to being the second guy to do intervention. Is that what we called it back then? Intervention with Seeqnce, back when they had the old offices. So I went there, I showed them Cuevox in version 1. And Samer was not so kind to tell it to me on the side. So he was like right in front of everyone. Really cool product because it worked. So he was really happy that everything, but how it looks and feels sucks, man. It's terrible. And he was right. It was terrible. It was something built by a developer who thinks like a developer. So I had built it in the ways like I would use it so fast, how it would be if, I use all my shortcuts. People don't care. People will have their own shortcuts. They have their own mentality. They don't care about my mentality. So they don't even care about what I think makes productive, right? So for example, I used to have on Cuevox, when you logged in, you'd get the calendar with everything. And I remember Samer saying, dude, if I'm a person using this and I log in, I just want to know what's there for today. I don't want to care for the whole week. Just today. If I want to do other things, I'll go to the calendar bar. What I need is a dashboard, something that makes it, active, as opposed to, okay, now what, right? And the shock part is, when I was done with Samer, I had, a lot of pride hurt with me. And I said, okay, maybe Samer was being a bit harsh to me. So let me ask another person. So I sent it to this really geeky developer friend that I have. And he goes in and he sends me an email afterwards and he says, Mackram, I'm a geek. I could see your code. But dude, I didn't know what to press when I got there. It's like, oh man, Samer was being nice to me. Not just. So definitely talk to other people, right? So I did this, Seeqnce intervention, I talked to a graphic designer. Some of you might know him, William Shuair. I was having, I was in a coffee shop with him, and I showed him Cuevox, and he was like, looks very good, man, but there's a few words here that are off. Like, why do you have a static page? Make it a slider, or just make sure the colors are consistent. I had on the home page blue, and then my plans had streaks of orange. Like, it looks like it's off. I would have never thought of it. I just took the right plan that I could get from a designer and didn't think twice about it. But people will always tell you the other things. I had a customer from the white label, and he went in. And I'll tell you the simplest thing, right? You will never imagine it. I had a dialog box. All my forms in Cuevox, you press OK on the right and cancel on the left. And I had one dialog box that had them opposite, right? Now, because I've been writing it for so long, I never thought about that, right? I get that dialog, I automatically go to the left. If I get other dialogues, I automatically go to the right. It doesn't even register in my mind. And this white label guy, he sends me this email. He says, dude, I just tried to create a contact 4 times. It didn't work until I realized I was pressing on the cancel button. Is it so hard to switch them? It's like, no, actually, just like, give me 1 minute. It's just one line, literally. But you would not think about this. We always have this problem, tunnel vision. We've been working on the same problem constantly. You will not see it from a different perspective. Even if you're a team, right? 2, 3 people, even if you have a designer on your team, have them talk to someone else, because we're all going to face that blind spot, right? Blind spot is horrible. Now, I'm not saying every time someone tells you something, you're going to go and change it, right? You're going to assess things. You're going to decide, okay, this makes sense or this doesn't make sense. But if you don't ask people, you're not going to have any input. That's just plain horrible. So definitely don't do that. And that's pretty much, all I have to say. Thank you for listening. I can tell you more, stuff about it if you'd like, but I'll give you chances to ask questions. Okay.
We're going to take some questions now. If anybody wants to ask questions.
Yes, please.
Going back to your first or second slide and your last slide, you talked about knowing your customer and then responding to your customer demands.
Yes.
So, I don't know you, but I can imagine, I can think of your background. And I work with, in my work, I try to use the project mentoring tool, database.
Yes, okay.
So I daily work with an IT guy, and it is very stubborn. It's very difficult in general to convince the person, someone who develops a product, to change things in the product to make it more user-friendly.
Yes.
So maybe you can tell us more about how you take decisions or accept to respond to your customer.
Let me put that under failure. But I didn't learn this failure in Cuevox, but I'm going to answer your question. I learned this back in the days when I was employed. IT people, right, especially developers, are as stubborn as they get, in the human race. That's it. Like, IT developers, really stubborn. And the problem is, we always think, why do people not see it this way? It's so easy, right? And that's wrong, because if you're solving a problem for someone else, he needs to see it easy. Not I need to see it easy, because I'm not the one who's doing it every day, right? It's a failure of us. We tend to have this problem. Now, we do have that problem because sometimes it's hard. I mean, part of the reason it comes is because doing IT requires people to change the way they do things. So the other party sometimes tends to be like, but we print it and we do check, for example. And you're trying to make their life easier. There are 2 very important things here. One, you need to understand their behavior, what they need to do, how they think about things. And 2, you need to sell them the thing, right?
The selling part is often missing because there are two different roles and people don't speak the same language. So transmitting my idea and then the IT person understanding the idea, it takes a lot of time. And looking at it from the customer, at the end the user is a client.
Yes.
Okay, whereas the IT is the developer, okay, but he's developing a product for a client. And
Right.
that's where the clash is in general.
I think if it is an IT people, right? If you have, or even if you're building, you know, a product, if you have the chance to sit with your clients and watch them work, then you're in for success. So when I have consultancies, this is what I do because I know my customer. I sit with them. I don't say anything. I just go. I let them do their daily work. Okay, and the idea is to see how their workflow, to see what really bothers them, okay? And then you can go with that, okay? So it's part of our job, right? The IT people, we tend to forget this, but for us to be proper and good engineers, we need to understand who we are solving to, okay? And
I just want to say something about this point actually, that we developers are lazy people.
Oh yeah.
No, wait, because everything that the design requires is doable. Everything is doable.
True.
We tend to say no, either because we're lazy or and then there's a clash between it's laziness or busy with what we have. So, because it happened to me, okay? What happened to me is that I had a lot of ideas, hey, some please change this or change it. I was like, no man, let's not do it this way, this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. But in fact, no, if you go back at home at night and you think about it, this needs like 1 hour of work, 2 hours of work, let's do it and try it, you know? So if you stick with your ideas, and actually yesterday I was reading a blog about that you guys, the UI people, they have to be what's the word?
Pushy.
And they have to stick with their ideas. This is the only way it will work.
Fight stubbornness.
You have to fight it, and you have to stick to
We're not learning
your
management
ideas.
skills here, are we? We're not learning management skills here, right?
I mean, because it happened to me. And
by the way, Haytham is the founder of Mozilla, which is one of Lebanon's first, Lebanon's first email. Okay, one of the co-founders. So yeah, that actually works.
Right. And just to add to Haytham's point, yes, we are lazy. That's what makes us good developers, right? Right. If we're not lazy, we don't do good work. But the really important thing is, like he said, almost everything is doable. We, however, have to make conscious choices because you're going to come and tell me, do this. He's going to come and tell me, do that, right? They might be at opposite ends, right? And I have to make a choice. What will work? Because I know what's coming in later. But what's important is, if you tell me something, right, you need to try. I mean, this is not going to work if you're a customer of mine or a client. If you're a client and you send me, you know, this is annoying, I will consider you my personal favorite customer and I'll probably give you, you know, 3 months or whatever. People will never tell you something doesn't work if they're a client. You just leave. But in the IT, if it's in IT, right, you can sell it. You can say, okay, I want it this way because it will help me save this much. If you're not going to do it this way, if it's this kind of problem, if you're not going to do it this way, you know, don't do the project.
Quick question. Sure. And this comes from a personal experience with a guy called Mackram Raydan.
Oh God. Yeah.
Did you learn anything from your failures?
Yes. Dude, like,
no, you know what the failures are.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do about it?
Yes, I've learned a bit about my failures. Doesn't mean I'm solving all of them, some of them. Trying to actually do better marketing for Cuevox. Trying to find a few people who will sell it themselves in the US because I would need to sell it. For the next projects, because some of these problems are unsolvable, in the sense of the time when they should have been solved has passed. For the next projects, I'm taking these in mind, right? So I'm not building things just because I want to build them, if I want to sell. I'm always checking my customers first. One of the best things I've learned was, check Google keywords, how many people search for that particular word. I tried appointment reminders for businesses. It was like really bad, really bad. I was like, what was I thinking? I can't even buy ads for this, right? People will search for appointment reminders for themselves, but not for their clients. So it's another thing. It's cool to be the first guy in a market. Yeah, not the smartest decision on the planet. Okay, if nobody has tried to solve the problem, maybe there is no problem, right? Just because if you don't have competitors, it might be an issue. I'm not saying don't build them, right? I'm not saying don't try to solve that problem that you think should be solved. I'm just saying if nobody has tried to solve it, and you don't happen to be the guy who just found the next algorithm or the next way to best use computers, if you just it's a simple web page and it solves the problem, then probably don't get your hopes high that you're gonna make money off of it, right? Odds are not good, right? Odds are not good. You might. All the power to you, but the odds are not good. So those are the kind of things I've learned.
Okay, and how can we help you?
Actually, before I just want to ask you, how long did it take you to recover from the day you had your Seeqnce intervention?
Yep.
Let's say it happened 4 or 6 months ago. Did you have the time to actually fix the issues that you had? And my second question is, did it work for you? Did you actually happen to regain these 15, or at least?
No, these 15 have actually, let me put it this way. Unfortunately, lessons tend to come in different ways in life, right? So yes, the lessons I took from Cuevox, I did solve. It took me about, I think maybe 4 weeks or so to reprogram the whole thing. So it was solved. I spent then about 2 months doing the platform to do it white label, because it actually promised a lot of money. It's still in the works, but I don't have my hopes high anymore. Mainly because the guys wanted funding and they didn't get it. So that was the pivoting part, right? But the part about the 15 sign up, that was on the sign up page of the new thing, right? So this lesson actually was about, I think, 3 weeks ago, right? I had stopped the ad campaigns, fixed it, and now I restarted the ad campaigns. I've had 1 actual customer sign up now. That's not a lot, I know, but still.
When you sell B2B, so one customer is okay, 1, then 1, that's 2, and then.
Oh yeah.
B2B is easier to.
All the numbers are getting lower.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll give the number. Just 1 second, and the numbers. I think if I get the one that makes most sense for businesses, if I get about 20 customers, I make $1,000 a month. So that's pretty cool, as far as I'm concerned.
Do you think the fact that you're a single founder helped make the problems bigger if you had a partner?
I think the right partner for me would have been someone who's more into business, right? He might have solved a lot of these issues and possibly actually spent some time running things in parallel, right? So right now, part of a failure I did not discuss, which is something bad on my part, right now I'm almost tormented between the part of me which wants to work on some consultancy I have or on some new project that I want to build and design, and the part of me who realizes, you know, we finished this part, so let's try and put more effort into selling it. And I reached this point because there was no parallel work. So yes, maybe someone who was helping on that side could have mitigated a lot of these problems.
Okay, unless you have more.
Just I think two more questions.
More questions.
And I'm not sure if you covered this, but why don't you have like sign in with Facebook button or open ID?
You mean people can sign up using that?
Yeah, for the free trial.
It's cost of acquisition.
No, there's no cost of acquisition.
Sales for B2B.
Yeah.
For B2C.
Basically, the idea, the concept here.
To synchronize with the calendars I have on other mediums.
Yeah, the synchronization part with Gmail, etc., that kind of thing, that's actually quite a bit of work. And honestly, I did not want to start doing it before I have some clients who's asking for it, because maybe they want it, maybe they don't.
Basically, sorry
Yep.
to interrupt, but on Gmail, I choose to put what calendars I have. On Facebook, for instance, it's what people are inviting me to do. And
Right.
these things I forgot unless I look at the homepage of each day. But what if I want to know all of them in the same place? Like the calendar that has what people invited me to and what I want to have on
Yeah,
my
but
actual schedule.
I mean, this is probably for a consumer, but not for the target customers, which is businesses, right? So businesses tend to have their appointments. So you have an appointment with me because you're seeing, you know, the resident dentist. So you're coming here to see the dentist. There's no, there might be, you know, a social aspect, but so far nobody has talked about it. I had people who were in the potential white label asked about integrating with Outlook calendar, because they currently have Outlook. But then that deal fell through, and you know, I didn't spend the time to do it because it's horrible, actually. And you know, spending that time, I don't believe in doing more features to sell, right? So the business value here is this business value. If I can't sell it, if I need to get another feature to start selling it, then I probably have a problem in my business value, right? Because that's a feature. You don't sell on features.
Just to clarify, I think Mackram forgot to mention, every call costs Mackram money. So it's not a free service, and it can't be a free service.
Right.
So in order for him to be able to maintain, can you move the mouse behind me?
Oh, yeah.
In order for him to be able to maintain his activity, he needs to charge people, which makes it very difficult to acquire customers, consumer customers at their
Plus, he was a bit late. The main example,
Yeah, who is dentist, our clinic, right. Right. I actually forgot to mention that. Thank you, Samar. Here, Cuevox reminds people by actually calling them or texting them or sending them emails, right? And then they say, yes, I'm coming, or not, no, I'm not coming. And then it tells the business. So definitely every time I have a trial user, it's a cost, right? So I have a cost every time I get a customer. Just 7 then. Yes.
Oh, it's just a quick question. If you regretted not selling?
No, because if I had sold, I would not have learned so many things. I would not have learned, I think one of the most important lessons I learned was not to copy from the big guys. I would have done that mistake with another project. I am sure of that, right? And it's something, you know, that is so easy to forget. So no, I don't regret not selling it. It was a very important learning experience for me. It is still a learning experience, which is why I don't regret this. Cuevox is not funded, right? So I pay for everything. And I made conscious choices to make sure it doesn't cost me a lot. And this is why I feel it's a good learning experience for me. So I pay for ads. I know how much works and how much doesn't work. And the lessons that I get, I guess you can call them hard-earned, right? So they're not easy to forget, because I know that it cost me, you know, $200 or $300 of Facebook ads to realize that don't put your credit card info for trial right there. And I'll never make that mistake again, okay? If I had funded, if it had been, you know, funded money, I might not think twice about it, and maybe, right? So I'm happy with those tests.
So you're selling your consulting service.
I am.
So you're good at it.
I don't know actually, because for consultancy it tends to be a bit easier for me. No, it's not that they're calling me, but because I tend to work in a slightly different way. So for consultancy, I assess people's problem and I tell them what they need to do before they pay me anything. And then I tell them, you know, this is how much it costs me for me to do it for you, or, you know, and apparently people like that kind of honesty. So I wouldn't call that a particularly great sales pitch, but it just happens. And I'm lucky that.
So, quick question. What can we as a community, since we're in a community space and we're all holding hands, what can we do to help you?
Regarding Cuevox, what would be really helpful is insights on how I could sell it better, right? Maybe who I could recruit, right? Because right now, one of my big problems is, okay, I want to get salespeople. Do I do a referral program? If I do a referral program and tell people, you know, you get X amount of dollars if you get me a client, will it work? How do I get to those people? So all of that is still a problem for me. It's a gray area for me. And I don't know how it happens. I'm not a big social guy, right? So, for example, Samer is a big social guy. He got a lot of people on Flip the Switch, which did a lot of, you know, good things for all of us. I doubt I could, yeah, fingers crossed. I doubt I could be able to do that kind of thing, right? So, and I wouldn't even know how to start. So any insights on how to do that would definitely be a great help for me.
Now, or we will do it later, because I have one idea.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, this morning I went to your website, and the idea of your product was completely different from what I heard at Seeqnce today.
Okay.
I need to know about your product in 1 second. I need to understand what it does in 1 second. I'm a lazy guy. I browse a lot. I went, actually, I came here with a completely different idea. Completely different. But you came here now, you gave me the example of a dentist, which changed my entire perception of your product. And that helped a lot coming here. But this morning, I was like, this is a bit useless. But now, I feel that I might come and use it.
Okay.
It's very important to tell everybody what you sell in 1 second. This is extremely hard to do.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, but it's doable. I mean, in my one project, we worked months and months to find out what to say, and actually we did it. It will be online very soon. We hope it's going to work, but at least we tried to make it much more easier to know what we're selling in 1 second.
More intuitive.
Sorry?
More intuitive.
Yeah.
In 1 second. A few words in 1 second. That's what we need.
I would agree. It's been by far the hardest thing has been trying to explain to people what Cuevox does, right? I never imagined I would hit this problem, seriously. But it turns out it's a really ugly problem, right? You know, if you've seen the sliders, you've went to the website, right? You saw the sliders and you know the one-liner.
From slide 1, 2, 3, and
yeah.
My idea of the product
was totally different.
So this is not really. It's not looking.
Even those slides, no, I'm saying even before that, it was a lot more.
I'm telling you, I came here because I wanted to know about Cuevox, but I came here with a completely different idea.
May I ask what you thought? Because I would like to know that.
Can I share it with you later?
Okay.
Because it's a bit harsh.
Okay. It's okay. I mean, I don't have a problem.
Yeah, but now I'm sold on the idea.
Cool. I mean, sure. Cool.
I'm not just saying this, but your example.
More example.
Your example that you said earlier is enough for me to understand completely what your product does. But otherwise, I have to think, how does he do that? How does, if you give him an example which he can relate to,
Right.
you're sold. This is it's not ideal.
Make small animation.
Sorry, Saber, you're looking for the answers how we can help Mackram now or aside?
This is entirely dependent on the audience. This is our first naked startup session.
I mean, you
So
guys
we-
want to break into like a regular kind of more loose networking thing? You wanna make it-
We can open up the 2 rooms, chillax in the lounge. You can get creative on the
Yeah,
walls.
from what I can see now that he's now stressed enough to really absorb.
He always looks like this.
Yeah.
What I suggest is we all think about it alone a bit, and then.
Oh, guys, please, if you can send me things, I'm more than happy, right? And you know, we can talk now, whatever you feel like. And you know, whatever we say here, I don't know. No, that's not what I wanted to say. Actually, I wanted to say we need to make it open, right? I don't know how we can make some forum of, because these problems are not just about me, right? So whatever we share, someone else is going to be able to use that. And
Exactly.
This is fairly.
What happened today is like your problems and your failures. It happened to me every single one of them. And I can come now and say examples of mistakes I did, and they're all the same.
Yeah.
So actually, so this is
So send
not.
them now, think about the data, send them.
Yeah, for example.
We'll find a way to kind of create an environment where all the content is there and all the questions are constantly being followed up. I'm sure Mackram will have it to be a pleasure for him to kind of follow up on those.
Part of what we're trying to do is to create a community knowledge base for all this information. But to put things into perspective, this entire space had not been inhabited for 30 years prior to us moving in. It took us 6 weeks to get it up and running, and it took us 4 weeks to get the operations running. So we're running on a very, very, very short leash. So hopefully by the end of September, we'll have a nice knowledge base that will incorporate all these. We're filming this. This is going to go up on YouTube as part of our effort to put all of this out there. So none of this will be missed, and hopefully everybody will push this onto their wider network so that people can learn from this, not just in this room.
So yeah. Okay, one last question, and then we'll break for chit chats.
Why did you decide to target the US market? Why haven't you decided, for instance, to target beauty centers in Lebanon?
I was waiting for that question. It is the lack of proper preparation, if you like, right? In what sense? Cuevox uses something called Twilo to make calls, to handle all that phone call business, right? And the problem is Twilo is based in the US, and making calls from the US to Lebanon are international cost calls. So it will cost per minute 30 cents to make a call. Now, I have a choice. I either incorporate that into the cost of the whole plan, and then all of a sudden it makes no sense whatsoever to the Lebanese market, or I start losing money on it. I'm not going to lose money on it because it doesn't make sense as a business. Now, with that said, I have to admit that the reason that this has not worked yet in the market in Lebanon is because I'm a bit scared about it. You see, now I'm laying totally bare. I could make it work in Lebanon, right? All I would need is a machine, a couple of lines from the telecom industry, and then, you know, the server would go through the machine and it will make local calls. The problem with that setup is I would have to start worrying about things that are generally reserved to data centers. Is my, you know, do you have power all the time? How many lines do you have? Because you might have a lot of businesses, you might not have. And it's something I need to do proper homework, because now it becomes a lot of cost, right? So right now, the cost is manageable. If I go down that road, the cost is going to be a lot higher, and there's going to be sunk cost. I need to buy that hardware before I do anything, before I can assess. So I think in that sense, you know, Samer has asked me a lot about, are you looking for funding, several times in Cuevox, right? And in that sense, you know, funding might be the only proper way. It's not a lot of money, honestly, but it's money that if I put in, I'm going to have to take out from other things in my life that I might not be willing to put. Because this is something like at least, you know, maybe 10, 15,000 sunk cost to start with, right? And if you start this kind of business with a reputation, I cannot have this business and then you have an appointment and it doesn't call you. Because one time that happens, that's it, right? So.
Are you full-time on this or part-time?
Besides my consultancy.
That's your investor right there.
You know, besides what I do consultancy to pay the bills, I just do entrepreneurship. So I don't have a job. So it's this, my consultancy, and any other projects I'm working on, which currently are not much. Yeah, cool. So Fadi, I'll give you the hand to close.
Right. First of all, I think we should just give him a big nice all right. I'm not going to take anybody's time. Just something to continue on what Sam said. We're also very new. Like Seeqnce and the new space is still very new. We're learning. We're making mistakes. A bit like a startup. So we're very open about these things. If you have any comments or that sort of thing, send us to us, and we'll really try to improve things, build a real community, build a real knowledge base around that. So please help us out. We'll try our best to kind of improve things as much as we can. A quick thank you, but a big thank you to Shadi Kassouf, who helped us out with the sound, because everything I tried to get good recording, good audio for this, sucked, and it didn't work. It was a massive failure, and Shadi just fixed it in a second. So he just came, he installed, he ruled. I mean, it was just that easy. Yeah, actually, let's hold that one on. Okay. And Haytham Khuja for giving us the tripod for the camera also. Thank you very much. Lending us a tripod, obviously. That's it, guys. Thank you very much.